In case you think I got ripped off, this cost me $2.99, a Space Invaders plug and play, worth every penny. If you adore the original arcade version of Space Invaders, obviously this video is not going to tell you anything you don't already know. I do think that the gameplay found in the arcade version was fundamentally improved in the Sega SG-1000 version. That is a version of Space Invaders most people who speak English have never heard of and have never tried. Obviously, you can fire it up in an emulator right now in about 30 seconds. In that version of the game, the difficulty is increased, and you feel that you are in a fight for your life, primarily because the computer is gunning for you more aggressively. So what's really been changed is the offense coming at you from the computer. This version of the game, the 8-bit Famicom version of the game, at least hypothetically the Nintendo Entertainment System version of the game, for some reason everyone hates on this because it is different from the arcade. I think, once again, this is a better version of the game than what you find in the arcade, whether you play it on a plug and play or on Famicom hardware or 8-bit Nintendo hardware of some kind. I do think it's better, but in this case, instead, the difficulty has been increased by making the enemy harder to hit. It is much more difficult to land a shot, to aim and fire and hit your enemy as they're coming in at you. Also, interesting little known fact, this version of the game, it has an ending. It doesn't just loop infinitely. And if you get to the end and beat the game, your reward is that it unlocks Space Invaders 2, the largely forgotten sequel, which has some odd features. The graphics are almost identical. It has intermission scenes between levels. Sometimes you shoot the enemies and they split into two halves and attack you. It's Space Invaders 2 as opposed to Space Invaders 1, but nice that the game is finite. It's a challenge, but there's only so much challenge, and then it's over. And then you actually get rewarded with some kind of bonus soon thereafter. Now, if you don't worship the arcade original, if you're a little bit more open-minded, don't ignore the Game Boy Color version of the game. It is completely different from the black and white Game Boy version of the game. People actually praise the black and white Game Boy version a lot on the internet. Game Boy Color, completely different game, does not get mentioned. And then beyond that, you're taking a step into madness with the Nintendo DS version, Space Invaders Extreme.